the statement from Coach and go on?
Big week for us. You know, we're going to two places that since we've arrived, we've never won. Lost at Seattle in overtime last year, and then got beat pretty good at Utah Valley in that road trip. So we should be plenty motivated that way. And we're also playing two teams that their backs are against the wall somewhat. You know, Seattle particularly had a brutal way to start the WAC regular season with 3 road games, which we did last year. I know that feeling, and against really good teams. You know, they had to go to Grand Canyon and Bakersfield and Utah Valley consecutive games, which isn't ideal to start a conference race. And so, you know, they're going home for some, you know, home cooking, and we're going to take everything they got. They're trying to, you know, they're a good basketball team. Obviously, they're 12-6 with 3 of the losses already in WAC schedule, and it's not ideal for us to go in there to be their first home game and try to get back on track. So it'll be our charge to make sure our guys understand where we're at and who we're playing and how upset they're going to be and how badly they're going to want to win this game. So it'll be a challenge for us.
Coach, how are you handling this week with so many guys kind of under the weather? And I know AJ had the flu and it's kind of been going around.
Yeah, it's running through us. Even, you know, people on campus, you know, our staff hasn't been 100% either, and there's some other people on campus that have recently got it, so we're certainly worried about it. We're trying to take precautionary measures to try to avoid it if all possible, and almost quarantine some of those guys, if you will, to keep them away from everybody else. And I haven't seen AJ or Yvonne since the game. We were off yesterday, but they had specific instructions, and Tennessee Owens, you know, had it too and was sent home. So 3 of our guys in our program every day have got the real flu, and like I said, we're trying to avoid it and take precautionary measures to see if we can limit it as best we can. I don't think any 3 of those guys will practice today and hopefully get better as the games get closer, you know, to us.
So right now, you plan on having those guys probably, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm a little more concerned that someone else is going to get it, you know, like today or tomorrow, and it be an issue for someone else, you know, for Thursday, Saturday. And obviously it's a little bit easier when you play at home, and, you know, you got to travel, you know, across the country Wednesday and then play Thursday, travel again Friday, and try to play Saturday. So I'm hopeful, and I can't imagine that both Yvonne and AJ won't be, you know, back in uniform and you know, close to 100% by Thursday's game. But we're just really nervous or anxious that no one else catches it before then.
Those were two good wins over the weekend. What did you like about how you guys played, like big picture wise, and what did you see that, you know, maybe you need to work on moving forward here?
You know, I liked our competitive spirit. I mean, I expected us to have that, but you never know. I thought both games our guys competed at a pretty high level, and so did our opponents. But they really, when it mattered most, they dug in pretty good defensively. It was a pretty high level competitive games, both of them. And we talk all the time about our target. We talk all the time about how teams are going to give us everything they got. Not that they don't other opponents, but you know, people want to beat us, and we understand that. And you know, I thought, even though our numbers don't necessarily reflect it, I thought our first shot defense was better overall. I thought we were in better positions. The last 3 halves, not so much the first half against Grand Canyon, which we were excellent defensive rebounding, but the last 3 halves against those 2 teams, we were porous. Rebounding the basketball defensively. That was our biggest issue, which hasn't been an issue for us all year long. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, what's not going to change is how tall we aren't. I mean, we're going to continue to have smaller guards. We're going to continue to have some height differential issues around the basket. And we've always been able to make up for that with our ability to check out and rebound pretty ferociously and have a mindset of how important it is to finish our possessions defensively. So that's something that needs to be addressed because we're not we're not changing out our players, and they're not going to grow all of a sudden or become that much better of an athlete. And we've got to do a better job of our guards swooping in there and helping our bigs out a little bit more. And but again, I thought, which is what I was more concerned about going into the week, was just getting better in our first shot defense. And again, Bakersfield didn't shoot a great percentage, but Grand Canyon did. But I still felt like some of that was just really good players making great shots and just rising over us, and there wasn't really much we could do about it, or no one could do about it when Fryer jumps up and makes those jump shots. And then Martin, who hadn't been shooting at all, made 3 in the first half. I mean, that's just dumb luck, in my opinion. So I thought we made a step in the right direction with what we worked on. Now we've got to, kind of clean up what we had been good at before and maybe lost a little bit.
Did you get the 3-point shooting that I thought some guys shot the ball well over the weekend? You talked about having 1 or 2 consistent players and then kind of being able to ride the hot hand if anyone else steps up.
Yeah, I mean, our offensive numbers are much better than last year's. Like, if you use KenPom as your barometer, I mean, we're in the 60s nationally offensively, efficiency-wise, and it's something that I spent a lot of time in the off-season with just film study and trying to be better. We've always been known as defensive guys and all that, and at the same time trying to keep that scheme going and keep that part of the ball being, what we're good at. So we spent some time at it, and I still, like I said, we shot the ball better this weekend, especially against Bakersfield. But I think we can be more consistent, and if we start shooting the ball at a higher clip, our efficiency will be, we'll move up the chain. I mean, because everything else is pretty good in terms of not turning the ball over very much offensively. We offensive rebound pretty well. We're getting the line more, than we were, and offensively, all four factors, we're trending in the right direction. And now if we can just, stop the bleeding defensively and clean up a little bit areas, we'll be heading in the right direction.
You've mentioned how well Sean Buchanan has played in his limited time this year and how comfortable you are on the floor when he's on there. Were you surprised at all how well he played filling in for AJ?
I wasn't surprised. I got a lot of confidence in Sean. He played 34 minutes, and a lot of things that he doesn't show up on the stat sheet in terms of just organizing his teammates and the way he defends and guards the ball, and he's in the right position off the ball, and he gets to scout into the game as well as anybody we've got in terms of how we want to defend certain actions that maybe is not exactly the way we play base D. So a lot of things that people don't see or understand because they're not in our locker room every day, and his leadership ability, and the other kids really like him. He's got their ear. And, to know that your starting point guard's not going to play, he's not even going to be in the building, it's comforting when you trust the other guy. Obviously, he doesn't have the speed or the athleticism that AJ possesses, or even the offensive repertoire. But at the same time, I mean, he's got a little steadiness to him, a little rock type attitude and approach. And he didn't start off very well. I mean, that first half for him and all of us was some ugly basketball. We were struggling. We were throwing the ball over the gym. We couldn't get any rhythm offensively. A lot of that was because of their athleticism and how well they got after us. And in the second half, we scored, I think, 51 points, and Sean made some huge baskets to, get us back in the game and get a little bit of a lead. And I think when he did that, the whole team kind of erupted internally because of feeling great for Sean, and it kind of took the lid off the basket a little bit.
Coach, this team seems to do a tremendous lot of what you ask of them. They seem to react well to the coaching on the floor. Can you speak to that? Because in that first half, as you described, there were issues. They just couldn't come together. The other team had something to do with it, but you didn't have your chemistry going out there. In the second half, boom, things started to gel. The players started to come together based on what maybe you told them or didn't. I'm not sure. Can you speak to how well they take to what you and your staff work with them on, and they respond?
Yeah, you're not watching everything.
No, fill me in, Coach.
No, they, we got good guys. We got good guys, and we coach them pretty hard, and we're pretty demanding, and we ask a lot of them because we want the best. We want them to strive for perfection. To be perfect on every possession, and I always tell them if you do that, certainly it's not realistic. we're not going to get there every possession, every catch, every game. But if that's the goal and that's what we're striving for, then when you don't get to that perfect level, everything below it is pretty good too. And that's kind of our mantra is, hey, let's try to be perfect, And then when we're not, we don't achieve that goal. The notch or two below that is pretty good too. But we're fairly coachable. We got some guys that don't like criticism, and we got some guys that maybe think their way is a little better. But that's all over the country. I mean, I wasn't, I was the same way. I had my own opinions, when I played, and I understand that. And you just try to get everybody on the same page, and try to get them to understand that you have their best interest at heart all the time, regardless if they may not like it or agree with it, but you got their back, if you will, and you're trying to help them. Trying to help them help themselves. But I think the best thing we got going is they like each other. A lot of coaches talk about that, and I get it. But these guys, they're there for one another, and they like each other. And, there's some shared suffering, with our team at times, which I always think is a good thing for the cohesiveness of our basketball team. And when you're playing as many guys as we are, every game we've played in, I naturally go mentally to, okay, who's not going to be happy? And I hate that I do that, but that's just what I do. And as a staff, I talked about it last game. Like, I don't know why, but the first thing I'm thinking about as we're walking up the stairs is, who's not going to be happy? Who we got to get right to make sure they're in the right frame of mind for the next game because of all the guys that we play. Some guys aren't getting the minutes that maybe they did the game before, or they went from starter to not hardly playing. And it's hard. And especially for young people, like what happened, and so that's the fact that they like each other and they can lean on one another, and most of them have either gone through that already or they're going to, and when they can lean on each other like that, I think it pulls them through.
What does Seattle do well?
They don't beat themselves. They got a great coach. He's a smart guy. He's been a head coach for a long time. He's had a lot of success. I think they're comfortable in their own skin as a team. I think they know who they are. I think they keep it pretty simple and play within themselves and just really have an attitude of we're not going to beat ourselves, and try to rely on other people's ineptness at times, and just stay in the game and figure out a way to win the game. I mean, they've had some huge wins, a couple Power 5 wins. They're 10-1 at home. They had a hiccup early in the season against Southern Utah. Otherwise, they're unblemished record at home, and I'm sure they're very happy to be at home after the road swing that they've had. I mean, their defensive numbers are really good, better than ours. Their field goal percentage is really good, both from the field and from three. And they don't play a lot of guys, and there's certainly advantages to that. Every player that plays knows he's going to play 30, 35 minutes, and he knows where his shots are coming from, and he knows who he's going to be playing with, and there's certainly advantages to that, and that's how they're doing. That's how their teams developed this year. So we're going to have to be rock solid. We're going to have to be really good, and we're going to have to go in there and beat them. Because like I said, they're not going to just all of a sudden start turning the ball over and taking silly shots because they don't do that. They're well coached. They play mistake-free basketball, and we're going to have to go in there and figure out a way to beat them.
What did did teams beat them, or did they do? Did they not play up to their standards?
Well, they played on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, they played on the road. And then one of their best players, I think he was second team or first team, one of them, all league guys, Cavis, number 5, has been battling some injuries. He didn't even play in the last game at Utah Valley, and they got up, I think, 17 or 20 in the first half against Utah Valley, and Utah Valley just stormed back and ended up overpowering them and winning in the end, probably because of where the game was played. And then when your best players isn't playing on the road and you don't play a lot of guys, that's hard. I don't know what kind of injury he has. I don't know what his status is. I have no idea. But, I just know that this is a big game for them. And it's a big game for us. I mean, we can't give back what we're clawing and scratching that we earned this weekend with holding serve and getting ourselves back in the race. And that was our goal, and that's where we're at. And now it's not going to get any easier to have to go on the road and play these teams that got their proverbial back against the wall.
Coach, it sure seems like the WAC is tighter and deeper than it was last year. Are you seeing it that way too?
Absolutely. I mean, there's more good teams. There's more good teams. And everybody's playing really hard. I mean, the competition level is high, you know, and you're playing 2 more games, you know, league games. And I just felt like from where I sit, not that they weren't last year, but the level of intensity and the passion and the confidence, you know, of each coach in their own team is really high. I mean, they came in here expecting to win. There was no question about it. Both those teams expected to win, and they played like it. And both of them could have. And so everybody's playing at a higher level. Everybody's competing fiercely, and there's more good teams than there was last year, in my opinion. Like I'm not in a position to be able to talk about how it was 2, 3, 4 years ago because of the obvious. It's only my second go around, but certainly comparing to last year, where the league had a lift in its RPI. I mean, we had a good year as a WAC, but I think it's even more competitive this year.
I always ask coaches, I mean, the semester's about to start. How did guys do in the classroom, and do you have any academic issues, I guess, going into the second semester?
Yeah, I mean, we did well. You know, I think I don't know the GPA right off the top of my head, but I know I've been told, you know, by our academic people that you know, we're in great shape, and they love, you know, how we're doing and where we're at, and you know, they haven't seen men's basketball in this good a shape in a long, long time. So pretty excited about, you know, hearing that kind of feedback from the academic folks, and it makes me feel good to know that you know, our guys are student athletes, you know, that they're doing the right thing, and we're on them about it daily, and so far so good.
Any other questions for Coach?
All right, guys, thanks.
Thanks, Coach.